Years have passed since Elphaba faked her death with Fiero's help. The two live in secret in the deep wilds, far from the Emerald City. Elphaba, once feared as the Wicked Witch, now questions whether her exile has helped or harmed Oz. Occasionally, a mysterious green flame appears in the sky, signaling to some that the witch may still live. Whispers of her survival stir both fear and hope. Glinda, now the recognized leader of Oz, walks a political tightrope. The people look to her as a beacon of goodness, but she struggles under the weight of expectation. Privately, she mourns Elphaba, feeling guilt over how their story ended. Glinda quietly begins dismantling the oppressive systems the wizard left behind, including discriminatory laws against talking animals and spellcasters. The Emerald City is fractured. Without the wizard's false unity, regional leaders vie for dominance. Famine and unrest spread, especially in Munchkinland and the Vinkus. Citizens once loyal to the wizard blame magic, particularly Elphaba's, for their suffering. Opportunists rise, feeding off chaos, including a radical faction called the Order of Silence, which seeks to ban all magic. At Shiz University, now repurposed into a magical archive, a group of students led by a curious young woman named Teria discovers hidden tomes belonging to Elphaba. These texts detail forbidden spells and lost histories of Oz, including the existence of a primal force called the Veil, said to connect all magic users. This discovery marks the beginning of a new resistance. Elphaba journeys to the ruins of Munchkinland. Haunted by her role in her sister Nessero's death, she tries to commune with her spirit through ancient rites, but the connection fails. She finds a hidden journal Nessero's left behind, revealing a truth. Nessero's had begun to question her own righteousness. Elphaba finally begins to see her sister not just as a tyrant, but as a tragic figure like herself. Commander Trask, a former aide of the wizard, consolidates power through a paramilitary force known as the Emerald Guard. Promising to restore order, he declares magic a threat to Oz. His propaganda paints Elphaba and Fiero as unholy relics of a wicked past. He positions himself as a protector of true Ozian values, seducing the fearful masses. Under pressure from her advisors and the public, Glinda is urged to condemn Elphaba once and for all. While she publicly distances herself, she secretly investigates Trask's background and discovers his past involvement in suppressing talking animals and executing innocent witches. Glinda feels her grip on power slipping and fears that the democracy she envisioned is turning into another dictatorship. Fiero, as the enchanted scarecrow, leads guerrilla-style resistance against the Emerald Guard. He strikes supply lines, liberates towns, and inspires rebellion. Though his body no longer feels pain, he carries the emotional burden of all who have suffered. He's seen as a ghostly warrior, almost mythical, though many don't know his identity or that Elphaba is still alive. Bach and the Cowardly Lion, having wandered in exile, return to support Fiero. Bach, now more machine than man, is emotionally numb but regains purpose in the fight. The lion, once cowardly, now leads with fearless heart. The three represent different legacies of the wizard's cruelty and become the face of the people's army. Elphaba discovers a magical text in her mother's belongings, a grimoire that predates the wizard's arrival. Inside are spells not for destruction, but for healing and transformation. One in particular, the spell of renewal, could restore balance to Oz, but at a personal cost. The caster would lose their identity and become part of the Veil, essentially vanishing from physical existence. Elphaba and Glinda reunite in secret beneath the Crystal Palace. It's tense at first, then heartbreaking. They discuss morality, power, loss, and the choices that broke them apart. Glinda begs Elphaba to come forward and help Oz openly. Elphaba refuses, fearing her image will only fuel more war. They part again, but the love and pain between them lingers. One of Glinda's advisors, Minister Creel, betrays her by leaking news of her meeting with Elphaba. The people riot. Trask seizes on this chaos, claiming Glinda is compromised. He stages a coup, places Glinda under house arrest and declares martial law in the Emerald City. Trask unleashes a brutal crackdown. Magic users are rounded up, including innocent midwives, children, and scholars. Fires burn across Oz as Trask's witch hunters raise entire communities. He declares a new Oz free of arcane corruption, pushing the realm toward authoritarianism. Glinda watches helplessly from confinement. Unable to hide any longer, Elphaba decides to act. No longer the passive exile, she steps into the open. Her message is clear: I never wanted to rule Oz. I only wanted it to be better. Her appearance electrifies the people. Some see her as a savior, others as a threat. Regardless, the tide begins to turn. Elphaba, Fiyero, Boq, and their allies march on Shiz University, now a military base. The battle is intense and brutal. Elphaba uses powerful but non-lethal magic, choosing to protect rather than destroy. Students and former faculty rise up from within. The guard is defeated, and Shiz becomes the center of the resistance. With help from the Lion and Boq, Glinda escapes confinement. She makes a broadcast across Oz using the wizard's old airwave system. She denounces Trask and reveals the truth about Elphaba, calling her not wicked, but the truest soul Oz has ever known. The speech turns the tide of public opinion. The final showdown takes place outside the Emerald City. Trask unleashes monstrous constructs powered by stolen magic. Fiyero is gravely wounded protecting Elphaba. She nearly gives in to rage, but chooses mercy, disarming Trask through compassion and the power of the veil. The people rise up, and the guard surrenders. To heal the torn fabric of Oz, Elphaba casts the spell of renewal. Light engulfs her as she connects with the veil, dissolving into the magical fabric of the world. Her essence is dispersed into the winds, forests, rivers, and skies of Oz. Peace returns, but Elphaba is physically gone. Fiyero, now a fading scarecrow, visits the last place he and Elphaba hid. Glinda joins him. Together they mourn. Glinda places Elphaba's hat on a stone, marking her grave, not with sorrow, but with reverence. It begins to rain. The people of Oz stand silently as flowers bloom overnight across the land. Glinda founds the Council of Harmony, a body made of all species and classes in Oz, dedicated to justice and compassion. Statues of Elphaba and Fiyero are erected, not as rulers, but as guardians of truth. The final scene echoes the reprise of For Good, as children read Elphaba's story in school, not as the Wicked Witch, but as Oz's lost hero.